Welcome back to the deep dive.
Great to be here.
So, you know how it is, right? You hear about a new place, maybe thinking of visiting, or maybe you're just curious.
You want to get the key info quickly, the good stuff.
Exactly. Like, what's the real story? What are the absolute must-knows?
And maybe those little interesting nuggets that make it stand out.
Precisely. And that's what we're tackling today. We had some listener curiosity about Thomas Lake Eagan in Minnesota.
Yeah, and we've gathered quite a bit of info from the city of Eagan, Wikipedia, of course, even a local park run update.
Which gives a nice community feel. And details about Thomas Lake Park itself.
Right. So the mission, if you will, is to give a really solid snapshot. Some history, geography, what makes it noteworthy, maybe a few surprises.
Okay, sounds good. Let's jump in. Thomas Lake Eagan, the name itself. Let's start with Eagan. Where's that from?
Eagan. That comes from Patrick Eagan. He was pretty important in the early days. An Irish immigrant from County Tipperary. Arrived around 1853, maybe 54. And crucially, he was the very first chairman of the town board of supervisors.
The first chairman, so a founding figure.
Definitely. He had a farm, about 220 acres, right near where the town hall is now. So a real cornerstone of that early community.
So an Irish farming community really shaped its beginnings.
Absolutely. That was its core identity early on, mostly Irish farmers settling there.
And was farming always the main thing? I read something unusual.
You probably read about the onions.
Yes, the onion capital.
That's right. For a time, Eagan was known as the onion capital of the United States. It sounds kind of funny now, but yeah.
Why onions?
Well, apparently the soil was particularly fertile, and a lot of farmers there specialized in growing them. They supplied a big chunk of the national market. It really defined their economy for a while.
Wow, onion capital. That's a fantastic bit of trivia. So how did it go from, well, onions to the suburb we know today? Big changes must have happened.
Oh, definitely. The big shifts, the real transformation, kicked off around the mid-1980s, mostly driven by transportation projects.
Infrastructure. Makes sense.
Yeah, relocating and expanding Highway 77, including a much bigger bridge over the Minnesota River. That was one piece.
Okay.
And then finishing the last bit of Interstate 35E southbound. Those two things really opened it up.
So easier access to the Twin Cities.
Exactly. It happened right when suburbanization was taking off anyway. So suddenly Eagan becomes this really attractive place for people working in Annapolis or St. Paul who wanted, a suburban lifestyle, but still needed good access. That really changed the whole dynamic.
That tracks. Location, location, location. So for anyone not familiar with the area, paint a picture. Where exactly is Eagan?
Okay, so think south of St. Paul. It's right there on the south bank of the Minnesota River.
Got it.
It's considered part of the southern part of the whole Minneapolis-St. Paul metro area. So yeah, pretty well situated between the two big cities.
And size-wise, how big is it?
It covers roughly 33.46 square miles. So decent size.
And getting around, you mentioned 35E and 77. Any other major routes?
Oh yeah, it's well connected. You've got Interstate 494 cutting through, plus Minnesota highways 13, 55, and 149. That network is definitely part of why it developed the way it did.
Okay. Now, besides the roads and development, I heard Eagan's also keen on green spaces. Something about a greenway.
Yes, the Eagan Core Greenway. It's an ongoing project.
Yeah.
And it really shows their commitment to preserving green space, especially environmentally sensitive areas.
What's the goal there?
The big idea is to create this sort of continuous network of natural areas. Good for recreation, obviously, but also important for wildlife corridors and just the general ecological health of the city.
That makes sense.
And it specifically highlights Patrick Eagan Park. Nice link back to the founder, right?
Yeah.
And the aim is to connect that up with the huge Lebanon Hills Regional Park nearby. So creating quite a significant natural corridor.
That sounds impressive. And that brings us neatly to another key green space, Thomas Lake Park. It's in the name we're focusing on, so it must be important.
It really is.
Yeah.
Thomas Lake Park is it's about 60 acres. And it's particularly known for its native prairie restoration work.
Prairie restoration. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, they've put a lot of effort into bringing back native prairie plants. It's not just about looking nice, though it does. These ecosystems are, super important for biodiversity, pollinators, soil health, even managing stormwater runoff.
So it's functional as well as beautiful.
Exactly. It shows a real sort of forward-thinking approach to managing green space within the city.
So if someone wanted to check out this park and the prairie, what are the basics? Location, hours?
Easy enough. It's at 4425 Pilot Knob Road. Open pretty much dawn till dusk. Technically 5:20:00 a.m. to 11:00 p.m. daily.
And parking.
Yep, there is off-street parking right there off Pilot Knob Road. Pretty accessible.
Okay, once you're parked, what's there to do? Is it mostly for nature lovers or?
It caters to quite a few interests, actually. For families, there's a small playground kind of geared towards the younger kids, like ages 2 to 5.
Right.
There's a sand volleyball court if you're feeling energetic. And then there are paved walking paths, about 2.5 miles total, that go around the lake. Really nice views.
Sounds lovely. And fishing. It is Thomas Lake Park.
Absolutely. Fishing is popular. There's a fishing dock, and you can also do pond dipping there.
Pond dipping.
Yeah, like with little nets. It's a great way, especially for kids, to get a really close look at the little critters living in the water.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
Very hands-on. Okay, back to the prairie restoration. If I'm walking through, what am I likely to see?
You'll see a whole mix of native grasses and wildflowers, and it changes depending on the season, you know. And you might get lucky and spot some wildlife too, but you're definitely waterfowl, things that thrive in that kind of habitat.
Is it just left to grow wild?
Oh no, the city actively manages it, and that includes controlled burns.
Controlled burns in a suburban park.
Yeah, it sounds a bit intense, but it's actually a really important tool for keeping a prairie healthy. It clears out woody stuff that tries to take over and helps the native plants, which are adapted to fire, to really flourish.
Interesting. Do they do that often?
They do it periodically, and they actually partner with prairie specialists to make sure it's done safely and effectively. They've done it at Thomas Lake in the recent years.
Good to know. Are there like information boards or anything to help you understand what you're seeing in the prairie?
Well, the Minnesota DNR, the Department of Natural Resources, they have a great online resource called Little Habitats on the Prairies. It's not physically in the park, but you could look it up before or after. It really helps you understand the different plants and animals and how it mutts together.
Okay, good tip. What if you wanted to make a day of it? Can you have a picnic or a bigger gathering there?
Oh yeah, definitely set up for that. There's a charcoal grill, a fire ring if you want to do a little cookout.
Yeah.
And there's also a pavilion you can reserve. It holds up to 150 people apparently. It's got restrooms, water, even electricity. So yeah, perfect for birthday parties, family reunions, that sort of thing.
Sounds very well equipped. Okay, back to the lake itself, the fishing. What kind of fish are we talking about?
According to the DNR surveys, you'll find bluegill, black crappie, largemouth bass, and bullhead.
Okay, a decent mix.
Yeah. And interestingly, the DNR actually suggests using a canoe for fishing there. Seems like a good way to get around the lake.
Is there a place to launch a canoe?
There is. The park map shows a fishing pier and a canoe launch. They're on the northeast side of the lake, and the parking lot off Pilot Knob is right nearby.
Convenient.
Yeah, the map also shows the trails going all the way around, and there's even a little island in the middle. Shows some depth contours too. Looks relatively shallow in places, maybe around 5 feet.
Anything else nearby?
Evergreen Park is just to the north, if you wanted to explore further.
Gotcha. So Thomas Lake Park isn't just scenery, it's a real activity center. And speaking of activity, I know there's a regular community thing that happens there, the park run.
Yes, the Eagan Park Run. It's a fantastic community event. It's basically a free, timed 5K run or walk.
Every week.
Every Saturday morning. And
Yeah.
get this year-round.
Year-round. In Minnesota, snow and all.
Pretty much. That's some serious dedication for the organizers and participants.
Wow. What's the turnout like? Is it a big race?
Well, looking back at some stats from around 2017, by their 31st event, they'd already had almost 500 different people take part.
That's quite a few.
Yeah, completing over 1,400 runs between them. The average turnout back then was around 47 people each week, average time about 32 minutes. But, you know, the organizers always stress it's more about the community than the numbers.
It sounds very welcoming. Is it just for serious runners?
Oh, not at all. That's the great thing about Park Run. It's super inclusive. All ages, all abilities. You see competitive runners, sure, but also lots of walkers, families with strollers, people with their dogs on leashes.
Dogs too. Cool.
Yeah, it's a real mix. Even the mayor, Mike McGuire, and the city's parks director have apparently shown up to participate. So it clearly has broad appeal.
That really says something about the community spirit. Are there other events focused on the lake or the environment there?
There are. Let me get this right. The Eagan Inver Grove Heights Watershed Management Organization, bit of a mouthful.
Yeah.
They work together on local water health. They run these Eagan Lake Fest events. And actually, there's one scheduled at Thomas Lake Park, July 16th, 2024, from 5 to 7 p.m.
So ongoing engagement with the lake.
Exactly. Shows people really value it.
Okay, so Eagan sounds like a place with deep roots, strong community ties, and a real connection to its natural spaces. Now let's touch on a couple of maybe more widely known or perhaps surprising things about Eagan.
Sure. Well, one huge recent thing is the Minnesota Vikings. Their whole training facility and headquarters is in Eagan now.
Oh, right, the TCO Performance Center.
That's the one. Huge state-of-the-art complex. It was built on the site where the old Northwest Airlines headquarters used to be.
Ah, Northwest Airlines. Now that's a name from the past. So Eagan used to be a major corporate HQ location, too.
Absolutely. Before they merged with Delta, Northwest Airlines, a massive Fortune 500 company, was based right there in Eagan, a huge employer for the region. That corporate history is definitely part of this city's story.
Okay, Vikings. Former airline HQ. What was that other, more unusual historical note you found?
Yeah, this one's a bit more somber, but it is part of the history. Zacharias Moussaoui.
The 20th hijacker from 9/11.
That's him. He actually spent time in Eagan in the months leading up to the attacks. He tried to get flight training there.
Really? In Eagan?
Yeah, at a local flight school.
Yeah.
But significantly, a flight instructor there got suspicious, raised concerns, and they ultimately refused to train him.
Wow. That's quite a chilling connection.
It is an unexpected and, frankly, significant historical footnote for the city.
Definitely not something you typically associate with a suburban Minnesota city. Okay, so bringing this deep dive on Thomas Lake Eagan to a close, what are the main takeaways? What should stick with our listeners?
Well, I think we've seen this fascinating journey, right? From its roots as an Irish farming community, the surprising onion capital, to becoming this really significant dynamic suburb.
Quite the evolution.
And through that, a clear commitment to green space. Thomas Lake Park is such a great example. Recreation, that important prairie restoration. It's not just an afterthought.
And the community aspect seems strong.
Definitely. That year-round park run really paints a picture, doesn't it? Plus the other events around the lake. And now you've got this new chapter with the Vikings facility adding another layer to its economy.
It really is a place with many layers. Onions, airlines, Vikings, prairies, all coexisting. It shows how a place can change so much but still hold on to a unique character.
It really does. And maybe it leaves us with a thought, you know? How do these different threads, the history, the nature, the community, how do they all weave together to create the place we see today?
A good question to ponder.
Yeah. Perhaps exploring Thomas Lake Eagan's story might make you look a little closer at the parks and history in your own area. Or hey, maybe even plan a visit to check out Thomas Lake for yourself. There's always more beneath the surface.